Welcome back to part 3 in this Behind the Mix series. I'm Josh West with Cellar Sound. Today we're going to go through choir mics and we're also going to do tracks. And then I'm going to show you some overall automation that you can do to help really move the track and keep the attention of the listener throughout the entire track. But as always, before we get into that, please, if you have not yet, go grab my Ultimate Vocal Presets bundle. This is completely free. I made it for you. In part 2, last week, we talked a lot about lead vocals and processing. And if you're confused on really how to make those adjustments, this preset bundle is perfect for you. It comes with over 30 presets for EQ, compression, and saturation. And it even comes with a free training video that shows you how to put all these in your computer and how to manipulate them for your own vocals so that they're going to sound good with your music, so that you can release them and be able to make those adjustments on your own. So go grab that at www.cellarsound.co/free presets, or just click the link in the bio. And that's it. Are you ready? Are you ready for part 3? This is the final video of this mix series. I hope you enjoy. Let's go to choir. So I have all these choir mics. I've got 12 of them are all going through this choir aux. So you can see there's no plugins on any of the choir mics. I'm doing all the processing on that aux. I didn't want to go through every single choir mic and EQ it. It just wasn't. It was just going to be so much easier to do that on the actual aux with all of them. Again, I didn't have a lot of time. So what I did here is I actually only had 4 choir mics in this song. We'll hear a little bit of them. Oh, let's turn off the reverb. Cool, so you hear a lot of room in there, and of course these vocals, and it wasn't powerful enough to me. I think there was only, I don't know, I think there was like 7 maybe in the choir, 7 vocalists, and then we just had 4 mics kind of split up between them, mainly because the room, there was so much information in the room. I was trying to pick up as much as I could. So what I did was we took this song like 8 times, and I took the best 3 takes that I thought, and I just added them and brought them into this session. So these are all the same singers, same microphones, everything, but I duplicated them. And these are obviously different performances. So these 4 were probably take, I don't know, 5, and then this was take 2, and then this was take 7 or something like that, if that makes sense. And then what I did was I tried to, because they're all the same singers, so I didn't want to pan them all the same. So I just kept it simple. And these first set, I went hard left, left, right. And then I went right, left, and then left, right. And it worked out. I originally had planned on kind of panning them just kind of all over the place. But with how much content was in this track, they worked so well just being panned out super wide, and I just kind of kept it simple. So let's listen to just this with just the 4, and then I'm going to bring them all in so you can hear them. All right, and then let's bring all these choir mics in. Awesome. So much bigger sound. You can't necessarily hear the tiny kind of tuning differences that are there. Yeah, it has a lot of character. Sounds really nice. So then I went and processed them. So I've got my Neutron Advanced, and I did almost all the processing just here. Just it made sense. And again, I really tried to kind of get a similar sound to those lead vocals, sort of, but just keeping more, not making them as present, I guess, keeping that space, but I didn't want them to be out of another world. Like I wanted to be kind of similar. So I added a gate here. I normally don't do gates like this, but it worked really well, just getting some of those ending kind of things out, and it just made things a little bit tighter. So just a simple little gate here. And then some EQ. So taking out some low end here. I've got some 580 hertz, some harshness and 2K, and then I have a little bit of 4.8K. So I just kind of leveled them all out and just made them sound a little more balanced. And then some compression. I barely did any compression, 2 to 1. It's I don't even, actually this threshold's all the way up. I'm not really doing anything with this compressor here. And then the exciter. So I took kind of my vocal setting, lead vocal setting, and made it similar. So 4K and above, this kind of retro warm guy, and pushed up that drive. So let's real quick hear without this, and then I'll click it on. Okay, let's turn it on. So now it sounded like this nice, really balanced choir. A lot of that low mid, kind of mid frequencies that were really pushing out are really nice and balanced here, which is great. It's definitely what we wanted. And then again, trusty SSL, E channel. Love this thing so much. I'm doing sort of a similar thing that I did on those lead vocals. So I'm boosting some of that 8K. I needed a little bit more of that, and then a little bit of compression. There was a couple moments where they get really big and intense, and I'm just lightly kind of tucking them down, very similar to what I'm doing with the lead vocal. So it kind of matches a bit. So let's hear a little before real quick. And then let's turn it on. So this really brought out, to me, just the nice, those female vocals, and is making it cut a little bit more. And I probably added this after I listened to everything, because I made these EQ adjustments here without the track, without listening to the track, and then I unsoloed everything and really played through and just made sure that this was working with the track. And that a lot of that has to do with that exciter, and then with this guy here. So I made this decision of boosting 3 dB of 8K based on what it sounded like with the track. So with the whole mix, not just the track, but the whole mix. So I'm gonna mute all of our tracks we had, and I want to just show you the difference of how this sounds with everything in. Okay, let's hear it. So this is all the stuff we've worked on so far, minus all the tracks, of course, and I'll keep this reverb off for now. We're gonna turn off all effects, actually, and I want you to listen to how the choir sounds in the whole mix, and then I'm gonna add these 2 plugins in so you can see that difference. So you can hear the choir's not really working with those lead vocals. They sound kind of dead in a way. There's a little bit too much low frequency content, and there's not enough high, and they don't sound like they're together. They're not singing together. So let's turn on both these plugins and listen to the difference. Cool. So now, all of a sudden, those choir are supporting the lead vocal. And that was the entire point of these decisions, is to have that choir truly supporting the vocal and not just being this extra thing that's out in the middle of nowhere that we don't know what it is, basically. So let me just let you listen to it with everything we've got so far. So all the choir, the reverb, all this stuff. Let's listen. Sweet. So sounding super good. And then the last thing here is I have the same vocal reverb. I wanted it to be the same for the choir, so I'm pushing that to this Vox Verb. So this Vox Verb is getting both lead vocals, and it's also getting our choir through this aux. And again, it just kind of matches that room. And then I did some automation here on the end of this song, where it starts to really build and get massive. I wanted it to kind of keep building and building and building until the very last moment. Let me just play a little bit of that for you here. So as this whole section, this is just a massive build through this whole section. The choir starts off kind of quiet and gets louder, and kind of starts to take over the leads at the very end just to have that impact there. So that's the only automation on these guys. All right, let's go to the tracks, the last thing in this video. Tracks. Okay, so basically what happened is just because of how this whole process worked, is I had this entire mix pretty close. Like, it wasn't completely finished, but it was pretty close, and then I got the stems for these tracks. Because originally I just had a 2-track, and it wasn't working with the mix. It just didn't feel right, and so I requested to have those sent later, which is why they're kind of at the end of the session. Normally I would have mixed these in first with these guys, probably before I started on vocals, but... So we just have some simple things. We've got some a few 4 or 5 tracks of keys, which I'm using all of these. We have a piano here, which looks like I am using, or no, I'm not. Yeah, I am. Okay, so pretty much, oh yeah, strings, synth bass. So we have just some strings that kind of support the other strings, a synth bass that's pretty nice, synth effects, Vox effects, like all this random kind of stuff here. Oops, I meant to solo. Nope, here we go. Okay, so luckily these tracks actually sounded really good. They were made really well, and the way this church kind of did the whole arrangement of everything else, they really based it heavily off these tracks, which was nice because I didn't have to fake anything or make it crazy. So let's just hear the tracks. All I did, you can see that I didn't really do anything to any of these keys. I just have a little bit of volume stuff, some volume automation. Honestly, nothing crazy. And I'm pretty sure I had this piano muted. Yeah, this was muted. Because we already have a piano. So cool. So you can hear I have all this stuff kind of low because I didn't want any of these tracks to really take over the mix. This is just supporting the mix. So the only thing I did stuff on, looks like, is this synth loop here. Let's go listen and see how this sounds. Aha. So this is a cool. So this was a really cool sound. I actually liked this a lot. But my issue with it was whenever I played it with the whole track in the mix, this was like the only track that just didn't seem mixed super well. Just had some weird stuff going on. It wasn't blending, and I wanted that drum to be really impactful in this song. So let's look at what I did. All right, so I have this 120 hertz. This was just kind of muddying up everything, and it didn't sound tight and nice, and so I turned this dude on, helped so much. And then I have this max volume. I love this plugin. When I'm doing live shows, I always am using this on a snare drum, percussion. It's just a cool compressor, expander. There's gate in it. This is a cool plugin. I could do a whole video on what you can do with this plugin. It's awesome. But I did not need this. I needed every single sound inside this kind of loop section. So I'm compressing this pretty heavily, but I'm trying to really bring out all that little stuff that we weren't hearing in the track. So this one you'll notice the most. So let me turn it off. And then let's turn it on. You need subs. You need subs to really hear it, but it's really bringing out just the tones. It's really nice. And then the last thing I have, which I love this guy, I use it all the time. This is Submarine. This basically Waves makes this. It's just awesome. This basically analyzes your audio content, and then it creates subharmonic frequencies based off of what is being played and what notes, and you can really get crazy with this thing, and you can blow your speakers with this thing, actually. It's intense. But all I'm doing is I was losing some low-end rumble on those big hits. It wasn't created in the synth loop, and I wanted it. That was the biggest weakness for me in this track, was the low end, trying to find the low end anywhere I possibly could. And this was the the best place that I could find it. So I have this like 50 hertz to 133. This is like the range that I'm kind of looking at, and then I'm creating these really nice subharmonic frequencies. And then what's beautiful about this plugin is it has a dry, wet mix knob. So once you get it dialed in, you can kind of tone it down and find your spot. And then I have the drive up pretty high. This drive is kind of intense, but it just sounds so good. So let's hear this little hit before, and again, need headphones, or if you don't have a sub. Okay, let's turn this on. Sounds so good. This thing is awesome. I love it. Really adds a sub and really brings it to a freaking really good level. Okay, so I think that is everything. These are all going to a track aux, which I intended on messing with, but I just didn't need to. So let's just hear that little section with the track and everything. That's a big difference. So let's turn this track off. Sounds really good, but when you get the support of these tracks, especially in the low end, it just brings everything to a whole nother level. Sweet. So awesome. So the last thing I want to do is I just want to show you a quick before and after here. I just want to make sure I don't have anything that's just kind of bypassed. Let's do this. Okay. So I'm turning off all the plugins, and let's just listen to that spot, and then I'll show you what it sounds like after we did everything. Okay, so you can hear it's really muddy. The nice shine and high end isn't there. Definitely a lot of issues. And then let's turn on all our plugins and hear the difference. Awesome. Obviously, much, much better sound. The last thing that I want to talk about really quick with this song is that you can kind of hear it. We haven't played through the whole song, but you can hear that this track has a lot of movement, and it has like an epic feel. It builds a lot and lets go. And it was very, very important to me to harness that and exaggerate it and make things move. And there's no way to do that without automation. Automation is key. Like, that is mixing. Back in the old days, they had the big consoles, and they still do that now, but massive consoles, and they sat there and they moved faders. That's why there's faders. When there was parts that needed to be up, they brought it up and created. It's an instrument. Like mixing, even Pro Tools to me is an instrument. We play it, and that's kind of how it should be treated. And if you're not doing automation, I definitely recommend that you learn it for sure. It's just so powerful. So I want to take you just through a couple little spots of where we used automation a lot. And one of them, we just stopped on it. Coming out of this kind of epic amen thing, everything drops out. We get the violins get kind of quiet, and yeah, and it's just keys, and there's not even any tracks. And I wanted to, I kind of played through the mix, and it sounded fine, but I wanted to make that as dramatic as I possibly could, while also keeping the piano kind of consistent. So the piano kind of is, and these little strings here are the only thing that's really playing there. And so I exaggerated those up and made them this dynamic move, and then brought them down. And we'll listen here.
Favor.
Cool. And so the other thing I did, which was kind of fun, is on this strings aux. Let's add both of these. Okay, so the string aux, I did a very, I kind of like panned it kind of over and then made it kind of swirl around the piano. Because whenever I played it through and just made the volume automation, it just didn't sound as interesting to me. I kind of lost it there. It didn't necessarily, I don't know, it just didn't intrigue me, I guess. So I added some kind of cool pan shifting there. So I just want to play just the strings so you can just hear what that sounds like. And it adds so much to the song. It just kind of rolls a little bit right and then swings back around left, and it's moving around this piano. So let's just hear keys and the strings. Cool. Huge effect. The last thing just on this section is you kind of notice before this little section comes in, I'm raising the piano up. I didn't want to just, as soon as the vocals were done, bring that piano up. I wanted the listener to kind of hear that piano coming up, so it almost turns into a focus. When you hear something getting louder, your brain kind of latches onto it, I guess. And I wanted that to happen before this moment happened, because I didn't have to really push the keys as loud, because you were just hearing it kind of come up, and then it just sat in this really nice space. Okay, so the last thing I want to show you is the end of this song. So on this vocal here, was it here? Oh wait, it was mute. Nope, sorry. Okay, so the last thing I want to show you here is what I'm doing with this reverb. A lot of times, let's see if I have any mute. Okay. So a lot of times, reverb to me shouldn't necessarily be set to the exact same for the entire song. You can really do some cool creative ways by adding a slightly different reverb, or adding to it at the next chorus, or adding different delays in different verses, or in this case, when everything really cuts out, I wanted that reverb to dip down, and I wanted her vocal actually to sit a little bit lower than where she was. And it creates this space, I guess, and sets up the end of the track, because the end of the track gets louder and louder and louder and louder, and gets epic and epic and epic until it just releases. And you can use automation to your advantage by setting up that big loud section. Basically, you're setting it up for success, because if you just have your vocal super loud and have it in that space, like how you've had it the whole track, and then go to these epic sections, well, you can't necessarily go anymore. You can't go anywhere. You're just going to compress more and limit more. So sometimes the answer is not to turn stuff up. Sometimes it is to just turn stuff down, certain sections down, and then lead into where it gets into it and gets big. So I exaggerated this by keeping her volume just a little bit low, and then I brought the reverb down just in this section, and it made her vocal really come forward and made it very intimate and nice sounding. So I'm gonna play the end of this big section, going into our automation on the keys and the strings, and then into her vocal when it starts.
May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations.
So you can hear that reverb, but it's significantly lower, and it became this kind of like a background left right space, and you're really hearing every single word, and it makes you want to just like almost like guide and listen, and then it just gets bigger and bigger throughout the rest of the track. All right, so that is behind the mix of this song, "The Blessing." It's with Woodland Hills Family Church. Almost missed it there. But I hope you got some benefit out of that. This was definitely a longer video than I normally do, but I kind of just wanted to just break a song down, and a song that had a lot of issues when we started. You know, like all the strings were super close mic'd, and they were picking up a lot of stuff. Same with the vocals. We weren't using super nice mics. We were just using normal wireless mics that aren't intended for recording. And we took all of that and made it sound like it was recorded really well, and made a lot of moves that were very small, but the accumulation of all this stuff really adds up to create this sound. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this. If you have any questions about any of this, please put them in the comments, and I will definitely get back to those. And don't forget to download my Ultimate Vocal Presets bundle. A lot of this EQ stuff and compression stuff and even the saturation, I've created that for you in GarageBand in presets. So go download that at www.cellardoorsound.co/free presets. And it also comes with a free video that shows you how to put these in your computer, how to use them, and a lot of the techniques that I'm doing throughout this entire mix are done for you there, and I show you the reasoning and why and all that stuff. So definitely go grab that, click the link in the bio, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Peace.